Hi everyone, my name is Jian Kwan, and through today's presentation, I'm going to introduce about how plants can defend against insect herbivores. You might already know that plants are not like animals, so they cannot move. So they face lots of stresses related to light, water, or minerals. In addition, their enemies are also exist. Plants are prey for insect herbivores. There are many types of insect herbivores, and I want to introduce three main categories of these classified by the level of damage. First is phloem feeders like aphids and whiteflies. They just give little damage to the epidermis and metaphyll cells of the plants. Second one is cell content feeders like mites and thrips. They can cause intermediate amount of physical damage. And the last type of insect herbivores, which chew the leaves of the plants like caterpillars, grasshoppers, and beetles, is most threatening enemies. They occur most significant damage to plants, so we are now going to talk mainly about the defensive mechanisms against chewing insects. Defensive strategies of plants can be categorized into two: constitutive defenses and induced defenses. Constitutive defenses are literally always present, so the productions like defensive compounds are often preserved in plants in the form of conjugated compounds. Or the products can be precursors of active compounds, and their pathways can often be species specific. Induced defenses occur only after damaging. Due to the characteristic of the defenses, it requires less energy than constitutive defenses, but the defensive mechanisms must be activated faster, so the production should be formed as active compounds. You might catch that the common thing of the defensive mechanisms are production of chemical compounds, and these plant compounds play a significant role in plant survival. So, from the next section, I'll introduce three defensive compounds in plants. First one is elicitor. Elicitors are insect saliva-derived compounds. Insect gut contains amino acid, and when insects are trying to chew the leaf, the amino acid enters into plant, and fatty acid linolenic acid and linoleic acid in plants combine with amino acid. This combination makes elicitor. Elicitors made in plants regurgitated into insect saliva, and elicitors continuously applied to the feeding site. Plants recognize these compounds, and signals from this trigger signaling defensive pathways. These pathways initiate defensive responses in distant regions of the plants in anticipation of further damage. Second compound is volatiles. Volatiles can be made by combination of molecules emitted from the plant in response to mechanical damage. This combination makes secondary metabolites like terpenes, phenolics, and alkaloids. These compounds are released into the air. And also, lipid-derived products like green leaf volatiles can be produced in plants. These volatiles have ecological functions. Volatiles can send alert signal for neighboring plants to initiate expression of defense-related genes like antimicrobial compounds. And also, volatiles attract enemies like carnivores or parasites of attacking insect herbivores. To sum up, volatiles are defensive metabolites that can protect plants themselves and neighbors, and also triggering interaction among animals and plants. Last one is jasmonic acid, abbreviated into JA. This is plant hormone also called as phytohormone. And this hormone is biosynthesis by octadecanoate pathway. Jasmonic acid triggered the production of many proteins involved in plant defenses. Briefly, let's see the biosynthesis pathways of jasmonic acid. Leaves wounded by herbivore release hormone named histamine. This transported through phloem and combined with receptor in plasma membrane. This combination makes membrane lipid to form free linolenic acid, and with following jasmonic acid biosynthesis pathway, jasmonic acid is produced. And now let's see more specifically about the jasmonic acid biosynthesis process. This process needs two organelles, chloroplast and peroxisome. In chloroplasts, linolenic acid goes through the lipoxygenase mediated stage and converted into 13-hydroperoxylinolenic acid. Allyl oxide synthase and allyl oxide cyclase works at the following two stages, and final production in chloroplast is 12-oxo-phytodianoic acid. This acid moves to peroxism, and through series of enzyme-mediated processes, jasmonic acid is finally produced, and jasmonic acid diffuses into cytosol. Jasmonic acid acts through a signaling mechanism similar to mechanisms of auxins and gibberellins, but the very difference is that jasmonic acid needs to be conjugated to amino acids by JAR proteins to trigger transcriptions of defensive genes. Jasmonic acids have three major functions in plant defenses: inducing activation of defensive genes, and triggering many proteins production, and mediating systemic defenses are those. So, what are the proteins that are produced by the pathways activated by jasmonic acid? Proteins interfering digestions are one of those proteins. Alpha amylase inhibitors block the action of the starch digesting enzyme, and lectins interfere absorption of the carbohydrate or carbohydrate containing proteins in digestive tracts by binding to them. Protease inhibitors block the action of herbivores' proteolytic enzymes, and this blocking hinders protein digestion by binding to the active site of enzymes. This kind of proteins can reduce rates of growth and development of insects. And what is systemic defense? When some part of the plant is attacked by the insect herbivores, systemic defense occurs, and production of compounds transport to other parts of the plant, so protection induced in whole plant, even if other parts are not directly attacked. In systemic defense, jasmonic acid plays a crucial role. A large precursor protein named procystemin produced when plants recognize the attack. This converted into cysteamine, and cysteamine moves through apoplasts. Cysteamine and adjacent cell receptor in plasma membrane combined and goes through intracellular signaling process. This process causes biosynthesis and accumulation of jasmonic acid, and jasmonic acid transported through the phloem, and expressions of defensive genes are activated in the whole part of the plant. You might remember the video Professor gave, and we can now answer the question of that video more specifically. We see many mechanisms, how plants can protect themselves or sometimes their neighbors too. Also, they can produce a loss of chemical compounds like elicitors, volatiles, or jasmonic acid. They cannot move, but they can behave like animals. They can talk and act. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and thank you for listening. Bye!